Just look at the social fabric of society today. We're living under dumb ideas of the rich who are disconnected from reality. This is why we have the problems we have today. This is why there's rumblings of returning to more traditional lifestyle, more traditional beliefs, because those are the rail guards that have helped us stay on the straight and narrow while we navigate through life. And we've completely thrown out the guardrails, and now we're spinning in circles, lost. We're making no progress. We're going in circles. If anything, we're so lost, we're going backwards now. We're regressing as a society. Our cultures, our values, and our norms are a complete joke today, so much so that the rest of the world that isn't engaged in this opulent thinking is looking at us like we've gone insane. We're losing our minds. These people are crazy. All right, we got another one here from Chris Williamson. Let's go.
Presuming that that's not the case, because that sounds insane, what do you think it is that women are misjudging about the men that are around them?
So let me be clear. I can only see in the data, I'm going to use an economic term for a second, the equilibrium outcome. I can only see whether this couple lives together. Whether that's the man deciding, I don't want to commit to that, or the woman deciding, I don't want him living in this house, I can't tell. So it's some combination of the two. So I don't want to describe this as if this is all the mom's choice. I think, again, what's instructive and cautionary to me when I look at survey evidence and ethnographic evidence and anecdotal evidence from interviews, a lot of these women, they're not saying, I really want to do this by myself. They're saying, I want a partner. This is hard. This is lonely. And so figuring out what's breaking down in those communities. Are men not feeling as socially on the hook, right? Are they not feeling like, clearly it's much more acceptable for today for somebody to say, yeah, that's my child and I don't live with them, but I help out. That's not the same thing. Bruh. And so
of course, it's men, bro. Do you notice it's always the man's fault? Every single time, dude. We cannot dive deep into these intricate issues of the social fabric and family structure without always putting the blame on men, which is fine. Cool, dude. Ultimate accountability. Sure. It's your fault as a man. Ultimately, that's who you picked as your partner. You control commitment. Okay, I get it. But once we're committed and married, doesn't she owe you at least trying to keep things together? Why is it that we accept women bailing out of relationships, getting rid of their husband, praising them for getting divorces today? Why don't we shame people like we used to? Shame both the man and the woman. You want to cheat and have infidelity on your spouse? Shame the crap out of them. You want to step out of your marriage and you have kids? You're a deadbeat, man or woman. You're a loser. It's about the kids now. Oh, well, better swallow your problems. Go to therapy. Go do something. Go swim in a lake, both of you. Go into a cabin and detach from the world. Talk about your problems. Get over yourselves. It's not about you anymore. It's about your children. Why can't we have these conversations? Why do we have to treat women like infantiles with kid gloves? Yes, queen, good job. You divorced them. So strong, so happy. And we don't go, you just left your man because you were feeling some kind of way about your marriage. Instead of working it out, you chose to step out and you doomed your kids to a single parent household where all the statistics in society point out that homelessness, drug addiction, depression, childhood trauma, not being able to form their own healthy bonds and relationships, and affecting them throughout their entire lives. All that stuff, you've doomed your kid to all of that because you're having a midlife crisis as a Karen? Really?
It's breaking down, I think, is important to look at. But the other thing that we have to be really clear-eyed about is there are, again, this certainly wouldn't be true for every situation or every dad we're talking about because the numbers are so shockingly high. But for a lot of dads, again, when you look at just sort of the data on who's participating in these fatherhood programs or these healthy marriage initiatives or strengthening families initiatives in these communities with high levels of unmarried parents, there are a lot of barriers, meaning a lot of the dads have unstable employment. A lot of the dads have criminal histories. A lot of the dads struggle with alcohol and drug abuse. All of those societal challenges that we're seeing for non-college educated Americans have spilled over to the sphere of family formation with really huge consequences for kids. And this is why, to get back to your initial question, what's the reaction to the book? I'm not surprised. And frankly, I'm not deterred by the reaction from academics or think tankers or journalists who were like, oh, judgy married lady telling people they should be married. When you look at what's happening in those communities and how hard it is for them, it is really counterproductive and actually not at all helpful or empathetic to deny that, hey, it's hard to parent alone, and more people should be able to achieve a 2-parent household for themselves and their kids.
I have an article that I want to quote to you. You may know this. Nicole Rogers wrote something a little while ago.
No, tell me.
Okay. Motherhood isn't contingent on a romantic relationship, so why do we still treat it that way? This predicament is often called social or circumstantial infertility, and it describes a person who is physically capable of having a child and desires one but hasn't become a parent yet because of social work or financial constraints. Rogers cites research that found 42% of women aged 40 to 44 said they want a child, but fewer than half say they intended to have one. She quotes another study saying that nearly half of so-called PANCs, professional aunt, no kids, said they wanted a child, but most said they would not consider becoming a single parent. If society would only let go of the quaint notion that families headed by 2 married parents is best for raising children, Rogers said, we could solve a host of problems to include ill-advised marriages, the plummeting fertility rate, and the yearnings of PANCs. It's time to let go of outdated and inaccurate ideas about how families should form and create a culture and policy landscape that helps all women have the children they want, she concludes. To her credit, Rogers acknowledges that life can be quite hard for solo moms, but she says that's because of an ideological bias that favors nuclear families. Also did a little bit more research. It turns out that she was in a long-term relationship until 34, split up, was very heartbroken, very, very despondent at the fact that she wasn't going to have a family. So she thought, I'm now single, I've been in this relationship for so long, and oh my God, I'm not going to have a family. Hang on a second. Why do I need to not have a family just because I don't have a partner anymore? Then at 37, she got married again. And at 40, she had a kid, happily married with her partner. So the stated and revealed preferences perhaps don't fully align. But what do you think? What do you think about this
hypocrisy
quote, the ideological bias that favors nuclear families?
This is a pretty typical quote from a highly educated, progressive woman who doesn't want to feel like her choices are restricted or judged in any way.
Consequences. She doesn't want to deal with the consequences. That's the truth. You made the wrong choice. You got older, and now you finally listen to your body and listen to your deepest part of your soul about what you really want out of life. See, because you're not the young 20-year-old anymore that's very gullible and prone to buying whatever somebody is selling you anymore. You're finally thinking for yourself. You've had a lifetime to become fully mature, independent in your thought. Now, when you finally exercise that intelligence, you wake up and you're 40, 45, and you go, shit, I made the wrong decision. It turns out I don't want to work all my life. I don't want to retire at 67. I don't want to be lonely with cats. I want a husband. I want a family around me. I want a big social net of my own kin. I don't care about the cubicle. I don't care about the plaque on the wall. I wanted that when I was 20 because I didn't know any better. This is what they think. This is what they go through as they age, man. And this is why they bite down and double down on this idea, because you can't accept it. Do you know how damaging it is to your psyche and your ego to finally accept to yourself that after 20 years of working, you made the wrong choice? What you really wanted was to be in a relationship, married with a couple of kids, taken care of by a man. Instead, you made the wrong decision. You didn't listen to your intuition as a woman. You just followed the herd and what everybody else was telling you to do, what social media was telling you to do, what the narrative in movies and the message is telling you to do. And what are you going to do at 40? Are you going to throw in the towel and say, I made a mistake? I can't. Is there any way to go back? I got to involve medical procedures now, in vitro, surrogates, you name it, just to get pregnant. And on top of that, I have to do it alone because there's no man at 40 waiting on you like there was at 20. So of course there's going to be a ton of older women that go, I would love to have kids. A majority of them want to have kids, just don't want to do it alone. Well, guess I have to collect dogs and cats now. What other choice do I have? Other than try to manipulate culture, manipulate biological wants and needs and just say, you know what? It's the system that's broken. The system is telling men and women that they have to be together. It's shaming women into having to be married to have kids. No, nobody's shaming. That's just the one that works the best. Like, you try to be a single mom by choice isn't a good thing for society. They have the worst outcomes. You're dooming your kid. For what? For your wrong decisions? Come on, man. This is the impossible choice women have to make. And we're barely starting to scratch the surface here of what's going on, and seeing a few generations now of women getting older and making the career choice their dream, but then shatters in the real world when the biology starts to catch up to your real wants and needs. And this is what men have been saying, like, hey, man, even men don't want to work like that. We work because we get pride in providing for families, but nobody wakes up and goes to work happy like, yeah, thank God I got a job. Hell yeah, it's nice to get wrecked by the IRS and taxed to death. Cool, dude, I want to go to my cubicle. I have so much pride in me pushing papers and getting yelled at by my boss. Nobody wants to deal with any of this shit. We do it to provide for our families. That's it. That's really what it is. That's why you see when men are single, when men have no other options, there's no women, there's no kids, they have nothing to live for, they completely retract into themselves and go into this baseline where they do the bare minimum working, if any job at all, sitting at home playing video games, watching anime all day, completely effed off from society, quote, checked out. That's what it looks like when a man has nothing to live for. They regress. This is the whole point that men work for our women, for our children, and we love doing it. As long as we get to come home and smell fresh cooked food in the air and see the little kids running around with a smile, giggling and laughing, and your wife greeting you, and that's all gravy, dude. We would all go into the goddamn coal mines and break our backs for that dream. And plenty of men have. But now all of a sudden, women have shifted to this narrative, the message that they're getting from the mainstream, that men are the cause for all your problems. Men are the problem. You should have kids without men now. No, families aren't needed. Do it yourself, strong, independent woman. It's like, what kind of shit is that, dude? Isn't it strange how the gynocracy is set up in this way? You have the freedom as a woman to make a choice today, whether you want to be at stay-at-home or you want to be a career woman. Except the truth is, the only choice you have is the ones that align with our goals. And being a stay-at-home mom isn't it. The reason that they get so much hate, the trad cons, any woman that posts her baby, posts herself at home cooking, is a stay-at-home mother, any traditional sense of what a wife is, gets absolutely lambasted in the comment section, gets a ton of hate. There's a ton, and it always comes from women. That's what's crazy. When you look at the comment sections on there, very few, if any, men whatsoever. It is mostly women with like internalized misogyny, pick me, traitor, chameleon, all this crazy stuff. And she's just like posting a video of her holding her big ass baby with an apron on, just cooking for her husband, being taken care of while the man's at work. She's doing the traditional thing. And then it immediately triggers the insecurity in all the other progressive women that have to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to work to live the life I described earlier. Congratulations, you have to go get yelled at by your boss. You have to go rush into work and clock in and be an hourly slave and have to report and meet deadlines and all this dumb shit, office politics. Wow, dude, sounds like a great life, doesn't it? You traded staying at home with your children to go get more stress in the corporate world. Wow, where's the winning here? I don't even understand. So yeah, you have a choice as long as it's the choice we give you. Unfortunate, isn't it?
I think you'd be hard pressed to find a quote like that from a woman who is making $27,000 a year, working 2 jobs, has 2 kids at home, doesn't get a check from her child's father. I think you're more likely to find a quote, and you are, if you look at, the sort of ethnographic evidence, or just go talk to some of these women and who are in programs aimed at helping single moms get by, they're more likely to say, yeah, this is really hard. And I would prefer to have somebody committed to me and my child helping pay the bills. And so I think, again, I think it's phenomenally, I'm going to turn the tables. I think it's phenomenally privileged to sort of say, hey, stop with this idea that a 2-parent household is a necessity or beneficial. Look at the data. Kids do much better when they come from 2-parent homes. And it's not surprising, and it's not rocket science. And the mechanisms, you can see them in the data, but also anyone who looks around and has common sense can observe them. Two parents have more earnings capacity than one. If one person, loses their job, there's a second person who could pick up hours. Two parents have more time than one. We see in the data, kids who live with married parents get more time from their parents. Two parents have more collective bandwidth. We see in the data that moms who are single, who don't have another, a spouse or a co-parent in the house, they're much more likely to engage in, parenting that you'd expect you engaged in if you don't have the time or the bandwidth to sit down and read.
Say it out loud. Shitty parent. Say it out loud. You don't have to beat around the bush. Say, you would engage in what you expect a single parent. Neglect, shitty parenting, poor parenting. Be upfront about it. But you can't, because shaming single mothers is super taboo. You can't do it today. Don't you dare.
To your kid to patiently talk to them. So we see in the data all these differences. It's not rocket science. And it's just a lie, frankly, to suggest that any parent, any household structure is equally likely to be able to deliver a high level of resources to kids. It's just a lie. And so we should be able to say that without it sounding like a judgment that anyone is, not doing their best. Where I'm coming from is I think we should ask, why is it that college educated women like Nicole Rogers, who are probably the best positioned actually to financially maintain a household by themselves, why are they the ones least likely to be doing it by themselves, right? How come all these other women who don't have the same earnings potential, who don't come from the same types of backgrounds, how come they're so much more likely to be doing this really hard job without somebody in the house helping them?
They're called luxury beliefs. And only the upper class that can afford to have stupid ideas like this engage in them, because their real life implementations is disastrous for everybody else. Only when you have so much money or enough earning power that your money can bail you out of your stupid ideas can you afford to have dumb thoughts such as this, such as, yeah, women should have kids whether a man is present or not, and society should accept it. Only then are you allowed to have a stupid idea like that. And when you implement it society-wide, it begins to absolutely deteriorate real time in front of everybody's eyes to see. This is why the gynocracy, the other mainstream agendas that are getting pushed today, go woke, go broke, all that stuff that they're trying to shove down our throats. These are ideas of the upper class, the elite class. These are the ones that have enough money that their stupid ideas don't affect them. No matter how stupid they are, they can get bailed out with their own money. But once you start to pass this down onto the middle and lower classes, you start to see the ramifications of stupid thinking affect people in the real world that can't afford to bail themselves out. Just look at the social fabric of society today. We're living under dumb ideas of the rich who are disconnected from reality. This is why we have the problems we have today. This is why there's rumblings of returning to more traditional lifestyle, more traditional beliefs, because those are the rail guards that have helped us stay on the straight and narrow while we navigate through life. And we've completely thrown out the guardrails, and now we're spinning in circles, lost. We're making no progress. We're going in circles. If anything, we're so lost, we're going backwards now. We're regressing as a society. Our cultures, our values, and our norms are a complete joke today, so much so that the rest of the world that isn't engaged in this opulent thinking is looking at us like we've gone insane. We're losing our minds. These people are crazy. They're drunk on money, on power, on excess. Look at them. They're destroying themselves, and it's for all our eyes to see. This is why the whole world is shunning the West and its ideas. You can't push these messages on everybody else that's living in reality, grounded with traditional values and norms in place still, with economic pressures in place still, with reality still. It's only for those that are most isolated in their echo chambers and bubbles, and they tend to coalesce around the top, high-end elite universities, government, and heads of institution. And those are the ones that are leading us today and most disconnected with what people actually need today, what the real world requires to have a successful family, a successful marriage, successful upbringing of kids. I mean, it goes on and on and on, man. Our leaders are shit. Our leaders are the cause for all these problems. but they benefit from them because the more you can break people at the bottom, the easier they are to control. And this has always been the game, man. It's not about your skin color. It's not about your religion. It's not about your red or blue. It's just about haves and have-nots. That's all it's ever been. Money rules the world here. Power and influence follows. That's all it is, dude. Are you part of the haves or the have-nots? It's all that separates you. The faster we learn this, the faster we can fix the system. Until then, we're going to keep fighting amongst one another. There's going to be delusional people, bird brains and NPCs and bros that are just regurgitating shit that they're hearing online with zero experience. Their minds are completely captured by social media. They're taught how to think, told what to think, how to think. Everything is controlled top down. The message is being drilled in your head the moment you open up your phone. And people are just walking blind, like metaphorical zombies today without even knowing. Wow, dude, I'm being propagandized 24/7. I have no original thoughts in my head. And it's hard to, when you come out of this, the real matrix, when you come out of this realization, like, oh my God, everything around me is fake. Everything around me is curated. It's social engineering. And when you wake up to this fact, now you have to live with the realization like, wow, there's very few people that understand the world is this messed up, or they just choose to accept it. Now, how do I find a partner that is also awake to this? That's the $1 million question. One way to up your chances is the whole passport bro thing, because Western ideology hasn't permeated the entire world just yet. It is rapidly, though. We have huge influence. Unfortunately, almost every big city has been infected with the mind virus. But if you go to countrysides, to small towns, to regional cities instead of capitals, your odds, they fare much better. But until then, man, once you wake up and realize what's really going on, and that's the problem with the game right now, it's finding like-minded people because they are rare. Sheesh. All right, I'm done ranting. We'll cover more of these episodes because I love these conversations. They're interesting and spark the creative brain. We've got stuff to talk about. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, share the video with a bunch of people you always know that were shadow banned and stuff. Submit clips and articles to tribeofmen@yahoo.com. And if you haven't, click in the description, man. Join the private community or get yourself a shirt too. Helps a lot. And we'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care.